All right, good afternoon. Welcome to the Whitmans. We are very happy to see you and to have you here with us. You see the small square? It shows you what's on. Okay. So our first position, my first rabbinic position, was in New Orleans, Louisiana. And we were there for 4 years. We came, and Dove was about 1.5 years, and Marcy was pregnant with Devorah. And Devorah was born on a Wednesday morning, and the next day, Thursday, was Thanksgiving. We had been invited to a very dear family, friends. We're still in touch with them.
They were actually at the Florida get-together in Boca.
Yes. And they had invited us for Thanksgiving dinner, but of course we couldn't make it because Marcy was in the hospital with Devorah. But Dove and I went for just a short while to their house, and that is where they served gumbo. It was the first time I had ever tasted it, and it was delicious. And I only stayed for a short while, and I brought some back to Marcy in the hospital, and then later we learned how to make it. And that's what we've been making it ever since. It's a
traditional sukkahs, our first night of sukkahs.
Right, so over 35 years almost that we've been making it. And that's what we're going to share with you today. So it is meant to be spicy, but you can make it more or less spicy as you wish. And however you like it, that's the way that you should do it. Now, the recipe that I gave you is for 12 servings. And it's very easy to make half of that, to make double of that, any amount that you want. Usually when we're doing it, we make a full pot. Sometimes we actually have 2 pots going, and it's very, very good to put in the freezer in portions. It stays well, reheats easily, and it's very easy to do. So I want to go over the ingredients first. And one thing I want to say is the measurements are not precise. You don't have to have the exact measurements. If you have a little bit more, a little bit less, it doesn't matter. And there's only one measurement that does matter, and I'm going to describe that later. That is how much stock you put in, but I'm going to discuss that a little bit later. But here's what's important. When you make this, it's very important that everything is prepared and in place before you start. Because there's going to be a point where things start to move very quickly, and you have to have everything ready and in place in order to make sure that it works out okay. So I've done this preparation, which I asked you to do if you want to cook along with me, or if you just want to watch, that's fine. So it starts with chopped onion, green bell pepper, and celery. And you can mix it all together in one bowl, and that stays here. And a lot of Louisiana cooking starts with that base. It's a fundamental flavoring cooking base for a lot of dishes in Louisiana. Then you need either beef or chicken stock or a mixture of both. So it's really great if you can make your own and you have it, that's great. If you only use soup powder with hot water, that's also fine. We happen to have today these boxes that Marcy bought, 1 beef, 1 chicken, and we're going to use both of them today. The next ingredient is okra. So you can buy okra fresh or frozen. Many people here are not so familiar with okra. It's used a lot in Caribbean cooking, and it is a staple ingredient in gumbo. And I just want to admit to you that it's a great vegetable. There are lots of different wonderful ways to prepare it. But when you prepare it for gumbo, it doesn't really look so appetizing, and it is actually a little bit slimy. So what you do is, to take care of that, you slice it into small pieces, and then you put it in a skillet, in a pan with a little bit of oil, and saute it, and squeeze a little bit of lemon juice, and then turn the heat to low, cover it for cook it for about 10 minutes, stir it a couple of times, and then let it cool off, and it's good to go. and it's a great ingredient, and it also helps to thicken the finished product. This is chicken okra gumbo, so you need chicken. So the classic way and the best way to make it is with chicken pieces. So you could use, for this recipe, one whole chicken cut into pieces. The only thing with that is, at the end, after it's simmered, after it's finished, you have to take the pieces out, you have to remove the skin and the bones and put the meat back in. It's a little bit messy, it's a little bit time consuming, and I discovered, I'm very proud of this, the idea a number of years ago, the best thing to use is skinless, boneless chicken thighs, dark meat cutlets. And you could also use chicken breast cutlets, white meat if you want. You have to just be a little bit more careful because it will dry out if it's cooked too long. So what we did is Marcy got dark meat chicken cutlets, and they're cut into bite-sized pieces, and that is here. Also, we like to use sausage. So Marcy said that sausage is optional. So yes, it is optional, except you have to have it because otherwise it won't taste as good, but it's optional. There are a lot of different places and a lot of different kinds of kosher sausage today. I happen to get this from, Marcy got this from IGA. It's Mahadran. They have several different varieties. J&R has several different varieties. So there are lots of choices available, and you can also get it more spicy, less spicy, depending on how you like it. What? Okay, good.
We did leave out one main ingredient, which is shrimp.
Well, yes, shrimp.
So just so you know, usually real gumbo is made with shrimp. So.
And pork.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, we left out a couple of things. The other ingredients, I have them over here. A little bit of flour, that's going to be for the roux. We'll talk about that later. Seasoning to taste, salt, pepper, cayenne pepper. Again, if you like it spicy, fine. Less spicy, that's also fine. Hot sauce, you could use Tabasco. You could use Frank's hot sauce. Frank's is my favorite, and we use it as part of the dish, and also when we serve it, we serve it. We serve hot sauce together with it, and it's very important when you serve it to have the hot sauce at room temperature so it doesn't cool off the hot gumbo. Thyme, oregano, bay leaves are all classic. A little bit of tomato paste, and when you serve it over rice. So whatever kind of rice you want. My personal preference is Uncle Ben's converted long grain rice, but you can use any rice and make it however you want. It's just white rice, and then you serve the gumbo. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start, and I'm going to move the camera. So please excuse me. I don't know. Okay, I need to see if the, not exactly professional at the camera angles. Okay.
Everybody can see you. You're fine.
Yes, looks okay? Okay. So we're gonna start. For now, the pot is on high heat, just a little bit of oil. Any kind of oil is fine, any neutral oil. I like to use corn oil, but if we have canola, that's fine. Anything that is kind of neutral is fine to use. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put in the sausage and saute that. It's very important the order in which we're doing this, because the order allows us to build flavor. So we're going to cook the sausage, and then the chicken will be flavored by the sausage. The roux will be flavored by both of them. The vegetables will be flavored by all of that, and the whole thing will be flavored all together. So the order in which we put it in is very important. So I have the sausage in. Okay, so Marcy mentioned before, classic gumbo has lots of non-kosher ingredients, shrimp, pork, crawfish, other kinds of things. So when we were living in New Orleans, there was a wonderful, amazing family, and this family were all converts, a husband and wife and children. They converted to Judaism. Wonderful people, sincere, pious, kind, just the best people you can imagine. And the wife, her name is Sue, so she came from Houma, Louisiana. Houma, Louisiana is the heart of Cajun cooking. And Sue is also an excellent cook. So she knew what this is supposed to taste like. And when she became kosher, she had to adapt it. And her recipe is, I think, the most authentic because she's one of the few people that eats kosher that actually knows what it is supposed to taste like. So I'm very grateful that Sue taught me how to make this, and I've been making her recipe ever since, and this is the way she does it. So the sausage starts to saute. You want to get a little bit brown, and then I'm just going to now add the chicken, just pouring it in. Stir it around.
He never cooks this meat. Whatever you see going on here is not really the way he cooks. You gotta be honest, right? You have to be honest here.
Okay, so this is just going to cook for a couple of minutes. Just going to let that brown for a couple of minutes. Now, Sue teaching me to make a gumbo and knowing how it's supposed to taste because of where she grew up is a rather trivial example of an important principle. And that is converts, people who convert to Judaism, add something very positive to the Jewish people and to the future of the Jewish people. Wherever they come from, whatever experiences they have had, it may be very different than someone who's born Jewish, and they bring in flavors and ideas and concepts that are beneficial and that help make the Jewish people richer. So this is a trivial example to have authentic gumbo, but as a general matter, this idea of the way that those who convert to Judaism sincerely enrich us, this is a really important idea. This is a cast iron skillet pot. You can use any kind that you want as long as it's a heavy pot. I've had this a long time. We've had this a long time, and I like cast iron. I like to use it, but you can use anything that's a heavy pot. So that's easy to cook for a couple of minutes. What did you say? Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is move the camera one more time, because this, I want you to be able to see the pot as it's going. I'm going to try to do this to see if it works.
By the way, if anybody would like to submit this to the Food Network and you get us a cooking show, I'll give you part.
Okay. Now, once this is no longer raw and it's a little bit cooked on the surface, so now we're going to move it into, take it out and move it into a bowl. but what we leave behind, the flavoring that we leave behind, will be part of the next step, which is making a roux. Making a roux, R-O-U-X, is it exists in many cuisines, in French cooking, but it's particularly important in Louisiana Cajun cooking. And it's a mixture of any kind of fat plus flour that is cooked together. Usually in French cooking, it's very light colored, but in Louisiana cooking, it can be light or it can be dark. And it is a fundamental and characteristic flavoring and thickener to all kinds of stews, soups, and other kinds of dishes. Some people, when they make gumbo, will make a light colored roux. Others will make very dark. I usually make about a medium-sized roux, and but you can do it different ways. Now, there are two basic ways to make roux: the easy way and the hard way. The easy way is to do this over low heat. Takes about 45 minutes. Just burn myself. Okay, great. Now, what you're going to do now, there's a little bit of drippings in the pan, and I'm going to add a little bit of oil, just a little bit, and I'm going to add a little bit of flour. Basically, you want an equal amount of oil or fat and flour, and you can add a little bit more of either one. You want a mixture, and you can use a whisk. You have to make sure that it is all mixed in and it doesn't burn. That's really the most important thing. So once you get this in, so the two things you have to be careful about. You have to be careful that it doesn't burn, because if it burns, then the whole thing is lost and you have to throw it out and start over again. And then the other thing is you have to be careful about not burning yourself. I already burnt myself, but I still need to be careful because this is extremely hot, and if it splatters, it will burn you and it will hurt. So wear something, be careful, keep the children far away. And now at this point, you want to just be stirring this and scraping the bottom so that it does not burn on the bottom of the pan. You have to keep moving it around. At this point, you really need to concentrate, because right now it's a light color. I guess you can see it. It's a light tan color. When it starts to turn colors, it will go dark quickly, and you have to be ready and careful that it does not burn. I'm going to describe the next couple of steps in advance because they're going to happen quickly, so you'll see, you'll know what's coming. So this is getting darker, getting darker, getting darker. It hasn't really started to turn yet. You can cook this for a while and you think nothing's happening until all of a sudden something is happening. Again, just be careful. So when it does get dark enough, we're going to dump in all the vegetables at once. And what that will do is two things. That will stop the roux from getting darker, and it will cook the vegetables. That's how we're going to saute the vegetables. That's really the most important part of this. Okay, I can see that it's starting to get a little bit darker now. It looks kind of like oatmeal, let's say. And also, once it starts to turn colors, it gets a little bit, I don't know how to describe this, it got a little granular, like a little, like sandy almost. It's hard for me to describe it, but you can tell it's starting to turn. But it'll be a couple more minutes. And you want to, again, just make sure that you're scraping all over the side. This is the most precise part of it, the most important technical part of it. Okay, it's starting to get darker. I like it to get to a color that looks like a cup of coffee with just a little bit of milk in it. So it's kind of a medium brown color. It's getting there. It's also a little bit of a game of chicken. How far are you willing to let it go and risk it burning? Because of course, the darker it is, the deeper the flavor, but the closer it is to burning. So we're getting close now. This is about the color that I like it. And I think, especially because I don't want to start a fire while I'm filming,
Which he has done before.
which I have done. So we're going to now dump it in. It'll smoke up, so just be careful. Pour it in away from you. There we go. Now I'm going to switch this for a spoon. And now I'm going to start to just stir this. So that roux is very hot and it is cooking these vegetables. Make sure you stir everything. Yes? Smells like what? Burning. Okay. Well, it's not burning. Now, it's going to seem a little thick and kind of stick together a little bit. And you're going to wonder what's going on. Thank you. But just keep moving it around, keep moving it around. Now, here comes the critical part. In just a minute, we're going to start adding the stock to deglaze the pan. This is the most critical measurement because you want to add enough so that it deglazes and creates a stew. But if you add too much, it will be too liquidy, more like a soup. And also you will dilute the flavor of the roux, which you really want to be able to come through in the end. So I'm cooking it now. Basically, you're going to cook it like this for about 5 minutes until the onions are translucent. So you're cooking these vegetables. And then when you add the stock, you're going to add just a little bit at a time. Because you can always add more, but if you add too much, there's not too much you can do. At this point, it's starting to have a wonderful nutty aroma, which is the characteristic of the roux, and if the vegetables are just about cooked, Now, when you start adding the liquid, first be careful because it'll make a lot of smoke, so just stand back a little bit. And again, a little bit, and then scrape it, make sure you're getting everything, nothing is burned on the bottom. So I'm going to add a little bit, just a little bit, add it, scrape, it absorbs it immediately. A little bit more. Again, I'm using a combination of chicken stock and beef stock, whichever one you want to use is fine. A little bit more. Stirring, stirring. Okay, now a little bit more. And again, you want to be able to keep scraping this and stirring it up so that all of the roux is incorporated into the body of the gumbo. Make sure you're scraping everything on all sides. Looking good, looking good. Okay, a little bit more. I'm alternating chicken stock and beef stock. Okay, now, if you want to, if you ever go into a room filled with people who love gumbo and you want to start an argument, I'm not sure why you'd want to do that, but if you would want to, here's how you do it. There are a couple of very controversial subjects when it comes to gumbo. One is, do you use garlic? And this is a really important subject. So, garlic, how could you not use garlic? Everything is better with garlic. The only thing is, my Rebbe, my teacher, Sue, she did not use garlic, so I do not use garlic. That's all I can tell you. That's the way I make it. She did it, that's how I do it, and that's it. The other contentious thing is tomato paste. Excuse me for reaching over. Okay. Tomato paste is a little bit of a heresy to use, but I find that it gives it a little body, a little color. I use a couple of tablespoons. So if you'll ask me, why do I follow Sue and not using garlic, but I do not follow Sue because I add tomato paste, I will say to you because I'm a little bit of a hypocrite. And also because that's the way that I like it. Now,
And a little bossy.
no, no. All right, this is looking good. I hope you can see. So it's kind of a rich brown, a little bit thick. Might add a little bit of stock later, but now we're going to add back the chicken and sausage with all the juices that are in that bowl. And the okra. Second. And the okra. And now I want to turn the flame down. Switch to a spoon. I'm going to turn the flame down. Stir it well. I am going to add a little bit more stock. Because again, you want it to be between a soup and a stew. A little bit more stock. Okay, that looks good. Now I'm going to add the seasoning. So again, it's all to taste. And what I normally do is I just add a little bit of seasoning now because it is going to simmer for 2 hours. And after it finishes, you can taste and correct all the seasoning you want. So a little bit of salt. I'm adding maybe 2 teaspoons of salt. Of course, the amount of salt will be affected by what kind of stock that you use. If there's a lot of salt in the stock, you want to add less. So just be careful about that. I'm going to add a little bit of black pepper. Now again, it's meant to be spicy, but you can make it as spicy or mild as you want. And if you have different people in the house that have different tastes, you can make it less spicy because you can always add hot sauce at the end when you serve it. I'm going to add thyme, about 2 teaspoons of thyme for now. I'm going to add oregano, about a little bit less oregano, 1.5 teaspoons maybe. I'm going to add a little bit of cayenne pepper, just a little bit. I'm going to add a few bay leaves. Now, the bay leaves do have to come out. So when you finish simmering it, before you serve it, you do need to take the bay leaves out. So I have maybe 6 or 8 bay leaves. I really like the flavor of bay leaves. And it's very characteristic of Cajun cooking, like a lot of other cuisines. And what else? I use that. And I'm going to add just a little bit of Frank's hot sauce. Just a little bit for now. We'll add more later. Oh, wow. It smells great. I wish you could smell this. So now it needs to simmer for about 2 hours, and then it's ready. And you could serve it in 2 hours. You could, I'm going to add just a little bit more stock, but it's really, it won't lose that much liquid in this simmering, but you can watch that. And that's it. This is going to simmer for 2 hours. You can eat it then. It stays at least for 4 or 5 days in the refrigerator, and it's just perfect to reheat. And it's very easy to freeze. Just add, put it in portion sizes, however you want it, large, small, and put it in the freezer. And you just have to bring it to room temperature and heat it and taste and correct the seasoning and serve it along with rice. Usually what people do is you'll take a bowl, you put a scoop of rice in the bowl, and then you ladle the gumbo on top, serve it together with Frank's hot sauce, and that's the way to go. However, if you want to put the gumbo in the bowl first and then add some rice on top, it's perfectly fine.
Or you can also eat it with a baguette. It's delicious.
Yes. So let me, I'm going to raise this now. Okay. So let me just make sure that I told you everything that I wanted to tell you about this. Oh, one last thing I wanted to say is if you are gonna make it, we would really appreciate it if you take a photo. Take a photo of yourself while you're making it, take a photo of the finished product, and take a photo while you're eating it, and send it to me, and we will share the photos so everybody can see and enjoy each other's, and we can compare how they look. So, but the goal is, it's a nice rich brown. The sauce is a nice rich brown. It is in between the soup and the stew. It will simmer very gently for about 2 hours, and then it will be delicious.